A carriage flees uncontrollably through the desert. Giant wolves and a boar-like creature chase after the vehicle. The coachman tells his princess, who is inside the carriage, to hold on tight. If they can reach the city, it will be safe. The princess looks back and sees that the wild beasts are still pursuing them, making her panic and scream in fear. On a distant hill, carrying a rifle, our hero observes from afar as the carriage is being chased and realizes that those people are in trouble. From a distance, the shooter sees the carriage being destroyed by the beasts. The coachman rolls on the ground while the beasts surround the princess, and there is nothing she can do but call for help. The creature prepares to attack, but before it can reach its prey, its head turns into smoke. The last thing the princess sees is the creature being defeated, then she faints. Through the weapon's scope, we see the shooter taking down another creature. While our hero continues aiming from the top of the hill, he remembers how he obtained this weapon. Our hero saw a man explaining to him that now that the protagonist has lost his life, he will be sent to another world, and because of that, will receive a gift. A weapon. Any weapon our hero desires, he just has to choose. So the protagonist chooses a weapon that does not exist in this world. He chooses a rifle. Our hero fires his hunting rifle. The two wolves are hit directly. The boar-faced creature defends itself from the shot with a cleaver. The boar manages to identify the direction from which the shot came and finds the shooter. The hero is surprised by the difficulty of this monster, which is greater than that of the others. It seems this monster has learned how to defend itself from gunfire. After all, it was a good decision to eliminate the wolves before the boar. But now it's time to say goodbye, the shooter says while aiming again and pulling the trigger. The first shot hits the cleaver, leaving the monster with only the handle in its hand. Then the second shot hits the boar's face. Later, the shooter recounts that 4 beasts were slain and that he received several PB points, bullet points. The princess and the coachman are still unconscious but recovering, while our hero has his option screen open, checking his points. The shooter is happy, even though the creatures were easy to take down. With the points he earned, our protagonist will be able to craft special bullets later. On the display, the protagonist sees the available fire and lightning bullets and notices that the next upgrade is healing bullets, which he considers useful. At that moment, the princess wakes up in distress, asking where she is. That's when the girl sees her friend Gills also injured beside her and calls out to him desperately. Gills hears his princess calling and wakes up, asking if she's okay. The girl feels relieved to see that her friend is alive. The shooter takes advantage of the princess being awake and asks if she is hurt. The girl becomes suspicious and asks who our protagonist is. But before the shooter can answer, the princess says she already knows the answer. She is sure that the young man before her was sent by her uncle, so he better not do anything against her. Gills tries to warn the princess, but she doesn't listen. The girl says it's okay and that she will protect her friend. The princess warns the shooter that he better not touch her. Her father is the feudal lord of Ribel, and Gills keeps trying to warn her, but the girl ignores him. Now shouting for the protagonist to leave, the little girl asks him to tell her uncle that she and her father will put an end to all his plans. Embarrassed, the princess apologizes, regretting her actions. The shooter says it's okay. After all, the girl woke up next to a stranger after being chased by monsters. Anyone would be scared. Either way, the hero wasn't bothered by her behavior, but even so, the girl feels ashamed of how she treated her savior. Gil says his princess was just trying to protect him, so if someone needs to be blamed, it should be him. To the shooter, the important thing is that they are safe and that having a ride to the next city is help enough, so it's best to drop the matter. The girl is moved by the stranger's kindness. The hero hurries and introduces himself as Ataru, a traveler. The princess says her name is Ashina, and the coachman is Gills. Athel deduces from her clothing and what the girl said about her uncle, that she's a princess. However, the shooter becomes curious and asks if it isn't too dangerous to travel without bodyguards. Gills explains that they had adventurers accompanying them while they were returning to the city of Ribel, but they discover that those adventurers actually worked for the princess's uncle, whose goal was to kidnap Ashina, ruin her father's health, and steal his glory. Luckily for them, the leader of the adventurers revealed the truth. Thus, they managed to escape before the situation worsened. The shooter announces that he will check the area just as a precaution in case more beasts appear, which already scares the princess with the possibility. Athel tells the girl not to be afraid. He is just being cautious. The hero opens the carriage door and climbs onto the roof. The protagonist activates the silencer mode on his weapon. Through the telescopic sight, the sniper sees the beasts on a distant hill. Then the first shot is fired, hitting the wolf squarely. The defeated creature grants 10 PB points. Ataru continues shooting and earning several points in a row. Gills asks how their hero is doing, and he responds that everything is fine. There's nothing alive around. A little bird flies over and lands on the princess's hand. She thinks that if the journey continues to be as peaceful as it is now, this will be an incredible trip. The carriage finally arrives at the castle, and our hero enters the lord's grand mansion. A huge and heavy bag is thrown onto the table, a bag full of gold coins. The Lord says that with this amount of gold, their hero can live the life he desires, and if it is not enough, he can arrange more. Impressed, Ataru says that the reward is more than sufficient. After all, he only eliminated a few wild beasts. to gals their savior is being well compensated, especially since he also acted as a bodyguard. The princess agrees with her friend and offers bread to their savior. Athel acknowledges that with this money he can cover a lifetime of expenses. He never imagined the power of a lord was so vast. Moreover, it is not just a simple reward. The lord is also buying the shooter's silence. By accepting the money, Athel must keep quiet about what happened, also saving the lord from any potential scandal. The shooter then says that he gladly accepts the bag of gold. The lord is pleased that his daughter's savior understands the message. Now the great lord makes his gratitude clear and sweeps his cape as he bows to Ataru for saving his daughter and his servant. He continues, saying that he could never forgive himself if something had happened to his daughter due to his own indulgence. For the lord, the man before him is undoubtedly a true hero. Ataru says that he came from afar and that it would be of great help if someone could show him the city and explain the culture. Immediately, the princess volunteers as a guide, but her father intervenes and asks his daughter to wait. The lord interprets the young man's question as if he had not asked from a noble's perspective and that his doubts are more general. This also makes the princess pout for not getting the attention she wanted from her hero. Then the lord asks Gills if there is someone suitable for the task. The servant in this case recommends purchasing a slave. Ataru and the princess are caught off guard and Gills explains that in this country, slavery is permitted as long as he can afford it. The servant suggests that their hero take a look at his slaves, and at that moment we see the face of a mysterious girl in chains. A younger Athel appears to be in a magical library. He looks around and wonders why he is there. A man sitting in a chair calls the protagonist Fumu and is happy that he is finally awake. The boy wants to know who he is, and the man responds that he is God, or at least that is how the boy can refer to him. At first, Ataru is frightened by the possibility, but after analyzing the place he is in and the man's appearance, he realizes that he looks like the god seen on TV. The boy quickly accepts the situation, and this pleases the so-called god. It makes things easier. However, the protagonist does not understand how he ended up in this library. He was just playing a video game at home. God asks if the boy can remember anything else, and the boy responds that he cannot, not at all. In that case, then the supposed god explains what happened. Ataru was stabbed in the back by a robber. Back at the mansion, the shooter, a little nervous, explains that buying people was not allowed where he was born. Ataru cannot imagine what these slaves are like. The servant then explains that only slave merchants can own them. Slaves are not very well educated but can read and write. They are good at domestic chores, combat, and craftsmanship. Newcomers who want to learn about the city and culture should go to a slave market. They are culturally responsible for that service. Gills tries to calm his savior, saying that although it seems cruel, it is not common for slaves to be mistreated. Something seems to deeply affect Athel. The shooter's eye, for some reason, reacts to the word slave, and for a second, perhaps the lord noticed something strange. Ashina also notices that something is wrong and asks if Ataru is okay, suggesting that he might need to rest. The shooter says he is fine, that he was just thinking about some things, but now he will take his leave. The princess does not agree that her hero should leave and asks him to spend the night at the mansion, let her take care of his rest, and show her gratitude. Ataru starts thinking about how, in this world, things are a little different. Our hero goes to a large estate. Inside, a man appears behind the shooter, welcoming him. The man introduces himself as Baz, the slave merchant, and says his job is to serve all kinds of people, gather and take care of slaves. The protagonist stares at the little man before him with indifference, which intimidates Baz. The merchant asks what kind of slave his client is looking for, what his preference is, what race, age, appearance, and function his client desires in a slave, so they can proceed with the purchase. Athel realizes that he has never thought about his preferences in detail. The shooter responds that he does not want an intimidating slave so as not to attract too much attention. Baz opens a small notebook to take notes. The protagonist continues, saying that he does not want an old person, that the slave should be about his height, and that the goal is to have someone who can accompany him on his journey. And if there is one more thing to add, it would be a slave who does not talk much. With all the information gathered, the merchant closes his notebook and says he will guide his client to the merchandise. Baz leads the shooter to a staircase and warns him to be careful going down. After unlocking a wooden door, the merchant says he will introduce the slaves he is proud of. First, a spotted girl appears, then another one, who is definitely picking something up from the ground, and finally a little girl, who is surely innocent. Athel acknowledges that they are neither tall nor old. Proudly, the merchant explains that these girls come from ruined noble families, but even though they are of noble origin, they are trained for domestic work. However, his client ignores them and keeps walking, looking for other slaves. Now, a man and a muscular magical creature are displayed. Baz explains that these slaves are strong warriors, especially the dragon race one, which is, by the way, quite rare. Irritated, Athel asks if the merchant understood what he was looking for since a rare species would attract too much attention. Laughing nervously, the merchant says he thought his client might change his mind if he saw a special being up close. Baz assures him that he has only seen a few types so far and that there are still many more slaves to check out. At that moment, something catches Ataru's attention. The shooter looks toward a door. There is something different in there. but the merchant becomes terrified when he realizes where his client is looking. Our hero senses that someone is in that direction and asks Baz to guide him. With few auctions, he agrees even though he does not recommend the person inside. The merchant explains that this slave arrived with an incurable disease and their philosophy is to improve the lives of their clients. This slave would not be able to do that. For some reason, our hero's eye reacts to this girl. Athel notices that this specific room is darker than the others and asks if this treatment is not against the law. Immediately, Baz explains that the slave herself prefers it that way and that they received government permission, but he will turn on the light to show her. At the same moment, the slave reacts with fear of the light and screams as if she is being attacked. Athel quickly asks to turn off the power. The girl curls up in the corner like a defenseless animal. Baz explains that the girl is a beast human. Other than the fact that she was abandoned, they know nothing about her. The slave has a burn on her face, injuries on her ears and tendons. Even with medical treatment, the girl refuses to eat. Ataru imagines that she is the reason his eye is reacting. The merchant has already realized that his client is interested in the girl. Our hero asks to prepare the contract. He will take her. With the contract ready, the merchant explains that he will later prepare the pact between his client and his slave using his blood. In short, a slave with the mark cannot turn against their master unless they are being treated very poorly or given suicidal orders. The master has the responsibility to provide food and clothing for the slave, and if they treat them too harshly, they will face severe consequences. Lastly, Ataru must decide what happens to the slave if he dies. The shooter asks what people usually choose in this situation. The most common options are freedom or returning the slave to the market, but Baz mentions that although rare, he has heard stories of some receiving inheritances. The merchant says that if he wants, he can make this decision tomorrow, so his client can return once he has decided. Someone knocks on the door and announces that the preparations are ready. Baz asks for the girl to be brought in. The girl is now brought in without chains, and then her hood is lowered, revealing magical ears. Athel approaches the girl, introduces himself as Ataru, and asks for her name. The girl does not show any reaction, and the woman who helped prepare her tells the girl that the man in front of her is her master, and that she should introduce herself. With difficulty, the girl says her name is Caro. The words are hard to get out, but she manages to say, "Please take care of me," before starting to cough. Baz comments that he forgot to mention, but this slave's throat is damaged. Ataru says it is fine. The shooter asks for the ritual to begin. A mage announces that she will start the ritual of the slavery mark. It is explained that Ataru must place this chain around Caro's neck to demonstrate that she is a slave. And that is exactly what the protagonist does. He takes the chain, opens it, and places it around his slave's neck. Then Athel is instructed to place his blood on a magical parchment. The protagonist takes a knife, pricks his fingertip, and drips a little blood onto the contract. Right after, the mage explains that it is Caro's turn, assuring her that it will not hurt much and that she needs to do the same. The girl places her blood on the parchment and seals the contract. The mage recites words of power, and magic in the form of glowing orbs emerges from the parchment. Lastly, Ataru must make his slave consume the orbs of light. The protagonist picks up an orb and tells Caro to take it slowly as she does not need to push herself. The girl swallows the light, and in the next instant, magical lines appear on her chains. With the ritual complete, the protagonist introduces himself again as Ataru, and with difficulty, a girl once again says her name is Caro. Our hero finally takes the girl away. The mage hopes that the girl will be well treated for the rest of her life. However, Baz says that there is no way to know, but he felt something different about that client. Even the merchant is starting to believe that the girl will be treated well. Ataru carries Caro in his arms. The girl starts coughing again, and her master asks if the sunlight is too strong. The girl replies that she is fine. The shooter observes that he is now far from the city and that no one should be watching them here. Ataru places the girl on the ground, letting her lean against a rock. The shooter asks Caro if she wants her wounds to be healed. Caro was not expecting this question. Then, amidst coughs, she explains that it is pointless because her wounds have no cure. But what if Ataru has the cure? Caro responds that no such thing exists in this world. Caro says that she once had hope. People told her that if she truly believed, something would happen. But it never did. Her wish was never granted. The girl repeats again, there is no such cure in this world. However, what Caro saw during the ritual was as beautiful as the night sky she used to see at home. It was so beautiful, deep, and bright that she realized she would be happy to die after seeing that image. Caro does not know why she was bought. What matters is that at least one of her wishes was granted before she leaves this world. Once again, Ataru asks Caro if she wants her wounds to be healed. The girl cannot resist and, in tears, says yes, that she wants to be healed. Ataru opens his display and remembers God's words, that with his rifle he can create magical ammunition, bullets of fire, lightning, and healing. Now our hero stands in front of Caro a few meters away with his weapon in hand. Ataru asks the girl if she recognizes what he is holding, and she says no. The protagonist asks Caro if she is scared, but before she can answer, he tells her to trust him. Then she closes her eyes and surrenders herself. Ataru aims at the girl in front of him and fires. Caro is hit by the shot and looks like she's about to faint. First, she feels something warm, like a light embracing her. Then she realizes she is feeling pain. a sensation she had long forgotten. Her arms and legs had stopped moving long ago, her body had become numb, and the pain had disappeared, but now she remembers. Caro feels the nostalgia of pain. With that, she can walk, she can run, just like she used to. Caro is on the ground, not knowing what just happened. She asks Ataru what happened, and he replies that her real voice is cute. Unable to hold back her tears, Caro runs to Ataru and hugs him, grateful. The protagonist notes that the girl has been crying for an hour, but finally, she is calming down. Still teary-eyed, Caro apologizes for being a bother. Our hero pats her head and asks if she has calmed down, making the girl embarrassed. The shooter asks the girl to stand up and move around because he wants to see how well healing worked. Caro does exactly as asked and starts moving. The protagonist is happy that the ammunition worked perfectly. Even the girl's big heart beats with life catching her master's attention. The girl confirms that she can move normally and immediately starts crying with happiness again. She jumps to hug her savior, but he asks her to calm down since she has just recovered. Caro asks why Athel helped someone like her, and he replies that they have a lot to talk about, but first he needs to buy her some clothes. Back in the city at a clothing store, the vendor thanks them for waiting and asks them to witness the transformation of his companion with the best line of clothing. Caro appears in new attire. The vendor explains that this outfit is based on the Lord's garments in the Ashina style. Athel asks the girl if she likes the clothes, and she says yes, but to Caro, it is a waste for someone like her to wear such clothing. Our protagonist tells her that she has permission to speak her mind, and if she does not, you will not understand her. A bit clumsily, his companion tries to explain, without offending, that she wants to be useful when danger crosses her master's path. But Caro does not know how to explain this to her master and gets all nervous. The vendor joins the conversation and explains that the protagonist's companion is a rabbit beast woman, and that beings of this species have excellent physical aptitude. Because of this, the vendor understood that the girl is trying to tell her master that she needs clothes that will help her in combat. Caro now has a new look. Ataru comments that she looks beautiful in this outfit and that it also seems easier to move in. By her smile, the rabbit girl is very happy and her master is also satisfied, but now they need to find a place to stay. The protagonist asks his companion if she knows of an inn, but the little rabbit says that ever since she became a slave, she has not gone out much. The protagonist admits that this makes sense, so they will have to search on their own. At that moment, a girl appears, asking if they are looking for a place to sleep, and if so, they can stay at her establishment. The girl grabs Ataru by the arm and pulls him, which annoys Caro. The cat girl introduces her inn called the Tree of Spirits and reveals that she is the girl from the poster Flana. The place is quite large and fancy, with a good appearance. Ataru comments that he likes the look of the inn and decides to stay. Flana is very happy about this and immediately starts telling her mother that she got 2 customers. The cat girl's mother asks her daughter to calm down, apologizes for her behavior, and then asks if the room is for 2 people. The protagonist confirms and says he wants reservations for 7 days. The owner of the place congratulates her daughter for getting great customers. The owner registers the guests and asks if he can pay in advance. Ataru tosses some coins onto the table and asks if it is enough. Flana notices that the young man is Caro's master and tells him that they have a huge hot spring and that she will let the servant take a bath alone later. Speaking in a lower voice now, Flana asks Caro what she thinks about washing her master's back, and when she realizes what was said, the little rabbit girl turns completely red. Now that Ataru is finished, he calls his companion and she considers holding onto his arm as the other girl did, but she hesitates at the last moment. The shooter asks if something is wrong, and Caro responds that Flana is going to reserve a public bath just for them for an hour. Her master is happy to be able to bathe before eating, but something is still bothering his companion. Completely embarrassed, Caro asks if her master wants her to clean his back. Feeling awkward as well, Ataru tells her that she does not need to do such things and that she can bathe alone. Now in the hot springs, Caro is impressed by the environment. The little rabbit girl comments that she has never been to a public bath and never imagined it would be so big. Then she sees a mirror and takes a look at her body. That is when she realizes that her burns are gone. All of them. Someone knocks on the door and Caro enters and says she has finished bathing. Ataru even comments that she could have stayed as long as she wanted, but since she is done, now it is his turn. The protagonist asks his companion to wait for him, but when he turns around, she is sitting on the floor. Our hero asks what she is doing, and she responds that she was taught to behave this way. Ataru picks Caro up, places her on the bed, and tells her that she no longer needs to act like that. The little rabbit girl tries to explain that she is a slave, but the shooter acknowledges that they do have a master-servant contract. For our hero, he does not know what is considered normal in this world, but he would like Caro to see him as a companion, a partner, or even a friend. Without a doubt, Caro did not expect those words from her master. She is very happy about it, but the move is broken by the sound of a rumbling stomach. Embarrassed, his companion apologizes and Ataru says they can eat before he takes a bath, but first, our hero needs to store his things. A hole opens in the air and the protagonist places his rifle and money inside. Then it hits him, and he asks if what he is doing is normal. to which his friend responds that she has never seen anything like it. On the blackboard, there are several instructions on how the rifle works, such as the fact that there are 12 different types of ammunition. Ataru comments that it is a lot and God agrees. However, the divine being also wonders how the young man is going to carry the equipment, ammunition, and money. The protagonist has not thought about that part yet, so he keeps looking for a solution until something comes to mind. Ataru asks God if he can have the ability to summon holes in the air to store his belongings, and the divine being casually agrees. A new rule is also added to the blackboard. Only the protagonist can use the ability to store things in the black hole. Caro continues to stare at the protagonist curiously while our hero thinks he must be careful with the use of his abilities. Ataru explains that this is simply a skill he can use. The little rabbit girl is impressed by the powers of his race, but the shooter explains that only he can do such things. Our hero takes the opportunity to ask his new companion to keep it a secret, and if she sees him doing anything else strange like this, she should let him know. Caro agrees with great determination, and her friend also thanks her. The girl imagines that Ataru-sama must be very strong, for example, because of the strange item he used to heal her. Even so, he is a stranger in an unfamiliar land, knowing nothing. It must have been difficult for Ataru, and this is the first time she has seen him smile. Our hero chose a little girl to be his companion and entrusted her with his secret. Because of this, Caro vows to give her all to help him. Now Ataru also feels obligated to tell her about his weapon, which his friend recognizes as the item that healed her. The shooter explains that the name of his weapon is a rifle. It is a weapon capable of hitting enemies from a distance and has different types of shots. His companion comments that she has never seen anything like it. The protagonist offers Caro the chance to hold the rifle, and she accepts, commenting that the weapon is quite light. Ataru explains that his weapon likely has power equivalent to other high-level magical weapons in this world. He also says that the rifle can only be used by him and no one else, so no one can steal it. And all of this is a secret that Caro understands only the two of them share. Out of nowhere, the little rabbit girl seems to feel weak, and before she falls, her companion catches her in his arms. Ataru apologizes, realizing he forgot that she just recovered, but Caro explains that actually, she is just hungry. With a table full of dishes of all kinds, the two companions are amazed by the food, stuffing themselves as they eat. Flanna rushes to serve the guests' dishes while her mother prepares the food in the kitchen. Now during dessert, Caro wants to know if she can ask her companion a question. She wants to know if our hero came to this city with a specific goal. Ataru says that, at the moment, he has no objective. He's just making this in his base and wants to learn more about the city. In that case, the little rabbit girl suggests that he go to the Adventurers Guild and look for a mission. The shooter seems quite interested and asks her to elaborate. Caro explains that the guild operates all over the world and offers adventurers various types of resources, and that, by joining the group, one gains access to different types of missions. The missions are ranked by difficulty, and upon completing them, adventurers receive rewards. Among the missions, there are tasks such as killing monsters and exploring dungeons, and due to their difficulty, the people who complete these missions are very strong and skilled. However, there are also rumors that some adventurers are violent, but most missions involve helping weak and needy people, making them excellent opportunities for Ataru to learn about the region. Our protagonist already suspected most of this, but even so, he asks if he can enlist in the guild, and his companion replies that there is no problem. Then the hero wants to know if his friend can also join, but she says no, since she is a slave. On the other hand, Caro can assist in missions and fight alongside her companion. Ataru remembers what his partner said about her clothes and asks if she is capable of fighting. Caro says yes, then no as well, making things very confusing. Then the little rabbit girl firmly states that she can fight. Our hero recalls that God mentioned that by defeating monsters in this world, one absorbs their magic. It seems risky, but Caro is a rabbit beast woman. Perhaps with Ataru's support, she can become even stronger by defeating other beasts. The shooter agrees to try joining the guild the next day, but first they need to get equipment for his partner. Caro tries to refuse, saying that her master has already spent a lot of money on her. But Ataru explains that he encountered monsters on his way to the city and saw what they are capable of. Getting equipment for his companion is his duty as a partner. At the weapon shop, adventurers examine various types of weapons. A weapon for Caro should be one that complements the speed abilities of a beast woman. Ataru asks his partner if she has experience with one-handed swords. The little rabbit girl says yes, but admits she was not very skilled with them, until she gets used to having a sword in her hand again and she fears she might hinder her master. Our hero tells his companion not to worry about failing, she just needs to focus on improving. The shop owner asks if they are looking for a weapon for the little rabbit girl. The sword that our hero is holding is an excellent blade, light, powerful, and easy to use. The owner, Bob, introduces himself and asks if his customers want to test the weapons on the magical training dummy. The dummy is a magical automaton, perfect for testing a sword's sharpness, and it will not stop until it receives the necessary damage. Ataru asks Caro if she's okay with this, and she accepts the challenge. With the sword in hand, the beast woman faces the dummy. The automaton launches an attack at her, but she manages to dodge it, jumping to the side. The little rabbit girl leaps and strikes the robot with the sword, but it does not seem to have much effect. Ataru notices that Caro is just running back and forth. It seems that even a one-handed sword is too big for his companion. The automaton delivers several strikes that make the little rabbit girl retreat. Then, a knife spinning in the air falls onto the battlefield. Our hero asks his companion to try using that weapon, and Caro dashes toward the knife. With the dagger in hand, she waits for the right moment. When the dummy attacks, the little rabbit girl jumps and lands a direct hit on the automaton. A single attack is enough to take down the training dummy. Caro celebrates that she managed to win, and it is her first time using a knife. However, for Ataru, his companion will need extra protection, and the vendor understands his concern. Bob brings out 3 excellent knives and a chest plate to ensure Caro does not take unnecessary risks. The vendor asks if the price is acceptable for their hero, and he agrees, but before paying, he notices a dagger that seems very special. Ataru asks his companion if that knife also caught her attention. She agrees and says she feels a special aura from the weapon. The vendor is impressed by his customer's keen eyes for noticing the special class of that weapon. The protagonist asks what type of class it is, and the vendor is happy to explain that it is a rare weapon. Be amazed because this is a magical weapon. Caro is astonished to find a magical item like those in Legends. She comments that she has never seen one up close. Bob explains that he bought the dagger from an adventurer who found it in a dungeon. As the name suggests, a magical weapon has the gift of granting powers to its wielder, a true dream for any adventurer. Ataru then asks if this dagger can grant powers, and the vendor explains that this knife gives its user the ability to increase reaction speed. On top of that, the weapon features beautiful engravings and decorative gems. Even from an artistic point of view, it remains a valuable weapon. As if he does not care much, our hero comments that this item must be quite expensive. The vendor says that it is currently at a great price. For just 20 gold coins, it can be his. Caro is shocked by the high price of the item. Considering the value of a magical weapon, the vendor says that what he is charging is a bargain. Ataru knows that with the coins he has at the moment, he can afford the dagger since he earned a lot of money for saving the Lord's daughter, and the inn-stay was very cheap. However, he cannot determine whether the price is actually high. Our hero still does not understand the value of money in this world. Innocently, the shooter asks if 20 gold coins is expensive, and the vendor clearly says no, while Caro is desperately insisting otherwise. Ataru asks his companion if she wants the dagger, and she responds that she does not need it, especially due to the high price. Then, maybe if the price were lower, the protagonist suggests. But the vendor immediately makes it clear that he has no intention of lowering the price. Our hero asks his companion again sincerely what she truly thinks. Caro admits that she would like to have a magical weapon, but for a lower price because it would be very useful. In that case, Ataru decides to buy the dagger for 20 gold coins anyway. Caro tries to intervene, but our hero tells her to relax. They cannot skip on their investments. Then he gives her a confident thumbs up. Ataru places the money on the counter and says he will pay the 20 gold coins, but in return, he wants a discount on the other items. With few options, the vendor agrees. The shooter hands his companion the magical weapon, and Caro still cannot believe that he bought something so valuable for her, a slave. Ataru tells her not to worry. He is making a good investment since she can grow stronger by defeating more monsters. Having a good weapon from the start will help. Our hero pats the little rabbit girl's head to calm her down and says that he has high expectations for his companion from now on. Caro likes being called a companion. Ataru tells her that if she worries about everything he does or does not do, she will go crazy. Caro is truly happy but understands that this is just how her new companion acts. Now they are finally starting to understand each other as companions. Caro identifies the immense building as the guild base. Inside the guild, adventurers search for missions on the bulletin board or stop by the bar. Feeling a bit lost, the little rabbit girl admits that this is also her first time in this place. So Ataru suggests they go register. The group goes to the counter and asks if this is where they can register for the guild. The receptionist introduces himself, saying his name is Boris and that he will be responsible for them today. Boris hands a form to our hero to fill out. The shooter hesitates, wondering if he needs to complete everything. Boris says no, only the name is required, but filling out the other sections makes it easier for an adventurer group to invite him to a team. In that case, our hero signs the form and hands it back. The receptionist examines the form and asks if it is correct to leave only the name, and Ataru confirms that it is what he wants. Boris excuses himself to process the registration. Meanwhile, Caro asks if her companion is sure about not leaving his details, and our hero comments that he is, because he does not want to join any group. Besides, his abilities are a secret shared only between the two of them, and Caro finally understands her friend's intentions. Observing their group, a gang of rough-looking individuals seems to be eyeing the little rabbit girl's appearance. Boris proceeds with the guild registration and asks Ataru to place his hand on the sphere in front of him so that his information can be recorded on a card. The receptionist warns our hero not to remove his hand from the orb until the process is complete. Since it will take some time, Ataru decides to use the moment and asks Boris to explain how the guild works. This surprises the receptionist, as people usually want to skip the tutorial and jump straight to the end. The protagonist is surprised because information is very valuable to him. Boris explains that the rankings go from F to S and everyone who joins starts at the lowest level. As an adventurer accumulates victories and achievements that gradually level up. The higher the ranking, the more missions become available, and according to standard evaluation criteria, is considered the highest level. However, beyond that, there is an even higher rank, as awarded to those whose work is deemed valuable to the nation. An adventurer also becomes a noble, but this ranking can only be achieved through a rigorous examination conducted by the guild master. Ataru realizes that even if he does not aim to reach rank S or A, it would still be beneficial to level up to become more active. Boris asks if the new adventurer would like to take a look at the mission board. Our hero is surprised as he just registered. The receptionist says that it is not a problem. He simply needs to take the poster that interests him and bring it back to Boris. However, missions are also classified by ranking, and since our hero just joined, he can only take a mission up to one level above F. This is a system the guild uses to minimize failures. Now that the registration is complete, Boris hands over the guild card and informs him that the first registration is free, but if the card is lost, a gold coin will be charged for a replacement. The shooter thanks the receptionist for the explanations, as the protagonist knew nothing about the subject. Our hero says he will take a look at the missions and be right back. Ataru asks Caro what kind of mission she would like to choose. She replies that she wants something easy since she has not fought in a long time and is not confident. The little rabbit girl looks at the material collection requests, but something else catches the shooter's attention. When Caro realizes it, her partner is already looking at more dangerous types of missions. He even tries to deny it but cannot, so they end up choosing two posters. The little rabbit girl reads the first request, collecting medicinal herbs. The mission requires 10 sets, which seems simple and easy, just as Caro wanted. However, on the other hand, he also picks a mission to eliminate wolves that are attacking the fields of a nearby village. Ataru tells his companion not to worry. Whether they like it or not, over time they will take on many missions, so it is not good to avoid combat. Boris says they can start the mission right away, but they need proof that the tasks have been completed. For the herb mission, they will need to present the collected items. For the wolves, the adventurers must bring proof to the village leader. The receptionist shows Ataru a book with images of the herbs they need to collect. The book is also a welcome gift for new adventurers. Our hero decides that they will hunt the wolves first. The village is in danger and the herbs can be gathered without urgency. Caro, despite looking pale, says she is excited about the mission. Ataru says that first they will talk to the village leader to understand the situation. Three rough-looking adventurers step in the way of our protagonist. The leader of the group asks if they are new. He is about to propose something, but Ataru simply ignores them and keeps walking. Obviously, the leader gets annoyed and demands not to be ignored. The shooter is already losing his patience. He asks what they want since they do not seem to realize that he has no interest in talking. That is when the bald one explains that since Ataru is new, he must still be weak, so they're selling protection. And the weirdest one adds that they accept gold or the girl as payment. The strange man eyes the little rabbit girl hungrily, making her visibly afraid. Ataru seriously wonders why he should stay quiet and agree to such nonsense. These guys must have peanut-sized brains. That is when the leader loses his patience with the sharp-tongued boy, insisting that he was just offering help. The big guy tries to attack our hero, saying that he should just shut up and obey. But Ataru dodges effortlessly. The leader orders his companions to grab both of them. The rough adventurers try to seize Caro, but Ataru, irritated by their ugly faces, summons his rifle. The shooter aims at the heads of all three and hits them at the same time. The leader falls, defeated, and Ataru puts his weapon away. Caro screams in shock, but the shooter assures her that everything is fine. In reality, they were not killed, but instead put to sleep. Our hero sees no reason to kill such useless fools. With that in mind, the incapacitating ammunition proves to be very useful. If Ataru earns more PB points, he plans to get more of these bullets. Observing from a nearby window, an elf appears curious about what just happened. Boris witnesses the shooter take down 3 adventurers at once without effort. The receptionist even tries to ask what happened, but our hero says it is a secret and must remain that way since none of this was actually expected of him. Ataru extends his hand to help Caro up. The little rabbit girl comments that she is impressed by how quickly her companion took those guys down. Our hero says it was nothing special. That group was very weak. The little rabbit girl keeps insisting that her companion is amazing. Ataru asks if his friend is okay, if she hit her head. Caro says she is fine, that she was not hurt, and that he does not need to worry. The shooter asks Boris to take care of the unconscious group. Now our hero is heading to the village and the receptionist agrees to assist. Caro keeps recalling how, when those adventurers came at her, she could not move, unlike when she fought the dummy. Ataru has high expectations for the little rabbit girl's abilities. He even bought an amazing weapon for her. If Caro keeps failing, she is certain that her master will become irritated and discard her as a slave. At the rate things are going, Ataru will face a powerful enemy, and she swore she would give up her dream to protect her savior. Caro cannot allow anything bad to happen to her companion. Without even realizing it, the little rabbit girl bumps into her friend's back. She starts to apologize, but our hero tells her to be quiet. He points ahead and asks if she can see what's in front of them. Several goblins are ravaging the forest. Caro explains that goblins are magical creatures with a high reproduction rate. They attack homes, animals, and sometimes even adventurers. The shooter asks if she can see the supplies. Judging by their appearance, they belong to adventurers who were attacked by the goblins. Ataru concludes that these are the belongings of a group that was recently attacked. They can take advantage of the moment and try to subdue the monsters. Our hero asks his companion what she would do in this situation. Caro says that she would first back away to monitor the creatures until 3 goblins were alone. Then she would strike and take them down by herself. Ataru agrees with the idea. The little rabbit girl asks if he will do the same, and the shooter confirms, but she will stay behind. The rifle emerges from the black hole, and the shooter is already prepared for combat. Caro is amazed that he can shoot from such a distance. The goblins' heads are struck all at once until none remain. Ataru explains that his strategy has always been to take down monsters from afar. The adventurers earlier were hit with a weak ammunition type, while Caro was struck with a healing bullet. Caro says that the protagonist is amazing, but Ataru disagrees. The weapon is amazing, item. But the little rabbit girl says no, even if someone else shot, it would not be the same, since the protagonist was able to take down 3 enemies with a single attack twice. Caro, curious, asks if she saw the strike, and she says yes. This is the second time she has seen it. That is why Ataru-sama is amazing with a rifle. The protagonist is impressed that she was able to see his movements. Ataru tells Caro that since she could see that attack, she is also incredible, perhaps even more than he initially thought. The protagonist says that it is okay for the little rabbit girl to fail. She will gain experience from it as well. Our hero will protect her with his life, and he knows that his attack from earlier made her feel relieved. Caro cannot hold back her tears. Crying, she leaps into her friend's arms, declaring that she will do her best. Ataru says that since she cannot be registered as an adventurer, he will split the reward with his partner so she can have her own money. Pablo, the chief of West Stamp Village, welcomes the adventurers. The leader says that the heroes must be tired, and even though he cannot offer entertainment, he invites the outsiders to stay at his house. Caro notices that the villagers look rather worn out. Ataru declines the offer. He wants to know what is happening in the village as soon as possible so he can solve the problem. The leader agrees with the young man's judgment, which relieves the villagers. Pablo explains that they have farms in the surrounding area, and because of that, vicious wolves have been attacking them. This is not the first time this happened, but in the past, there were only a few wolves, so some villagers were enough to drive the beasts away. Ataru asks if there are many wolves now. The leader confirms this, but the problem is that there are now some larger species among them, and even with the villagers united, they could not repel the beasts. The shooter suspects that it may be a boss-class monster. Now our hero just wants to know where the wolves are. The village chief asks if they have the strength to face the creature. The shooter asks if that is part of the mission. Athel states that he was sent by the guild to eliminate the wolves attacking the village, and he wants to do it now. Pablo responds that no, the mission is only to hunt the wolves, not the boss. The shooter understands that when a powerful monster appears, the mission's rank increases, and this also raises its reward value. Our hero knows that this makes things more difficult for the village. Let's pretend the boss doesn't exist, Ataru responds. Once again, the shooter asks where the beasts are. Grateful, the leader asks someone to bring the map. Caro realizes that they are keeping the boss a secret from the guild, but she wants to know if that is okay since the mission rank just increased. However, Ataru actually thinks this is good. It gives him a chance to test his power and also earn more rewards. Now from atop a hill, the shooter prepares for the hunt. Through the rifle's scope, our protagonist asks if Caro can see the beasts. She counts 9 wolves among the rocks. The shooter says he cannot see the boss, so it is better to assume there are 10, and the little rabbit girl thinks the leader is likely inside the cave. Ataru then begins explaining the plan. First, Caro will stealthily approach the wolves from behind, and once in position, she will give the signal, and the shooter will initiate the attack. Unlike their previous enemies, these wolves move fast and are numerous, so special fire bullets will be used. Ataru expects to be the only one fighting, but if any beasts escape, it will be Caro's turn to act. Another key point is that when the boss emerges from the cave, it would be ideal for our protagonist to take it down with a single shot. If that does not happen and the creature charges at Ataru, Caro already understands her role and states that she will be responsible for distracting the boss. Her companion makes it clear she was only to distract it, not to take unnecessary risks. The little rabbit girl understands perfectly. As the sun sets, the hunt begins. Caro moves through the forest like lightning. The rabbit woman knows that the strategy is based on annihilating the wolves and isolating the boss, and the key to success is movement. Ataru-sama is the only one who has ever believed in Caro. She will not disappoint him no matter what. Caro silently approaches a bush and spots the creatures. The little rabbit girl signals that she is in position, and Ataru prepares for action. The shooter fires, and the sound echoes throughout the forest. Another shot travels over the treetops. Too late, the wolves realize they are under attack, and Ataru barely has time to say, "Good boy." A massive explosion wipes the beasts from the face of the earth. Another shot strikes the wolves before they can react. Caro remembers her partner's words. If any beast escapes, she will have to handle it. Two wolf beasts emerge from the smoke and flee into the forest. Caro, with the magical dagger in hand, chases after the wolves. Magical weapon, grant me your power. With those words, the beast woman lands a perfect hit on both wolves. Amazed by her abilities, Caro feels like she could run through the skies with the dagger's power. With this strength, she knows she can handle them. With incredible agility, she lands another strike on the wolf with a fatal blow. The creature falls, but before she notices, the second wolf attacks from behind. However, her reflexes are faster and she strikes, sending the beast flying. Once again, a deadly blow is delivered with the daggers, ending the fight. Now that all the wolves have been eliminated, only the final challenge remains. From within the cave, a massive clawed paw emerges from the darkness. Caro has no doubt this is the boss, but is far more dangerous than she imagined. It is an advanced class monster, the Death Wolf. But Ataru, watching from a distance, does not believe that is the boss, though he does recognize the creature. The shooter recalls that the guild's guidebook contains a description of this monster. With its dark red, mud-stained fur, it is twice the size of a normal wolf, far stronger and extremely agile. Undoubtedly, it is a rank C or higher monster. This creature would likely be a challenge even for a B-rank adventurer. This is definitely the Death Wolf. The giant wolf locks eyes with its prey, and Caro looks straight at her partner in the distance, knowing what to do. Ataru is already in position, ready for battle. As soon as Caro moves and the wolf prepares to attack, the shot is fired and a massive explosion strikes the monster. The little rabbit girl starts celebrating, but her joy is short-lived. The Death Wolf emerges from the flames as if nothing happened. Caro cannot believe that the fire barely affected the monster. Even Ataru feels uneasy. The wolf roars in fury and spots its prey once again. With a powerful leap, the beast attacks the beast woman, who barely manages to dodge. Caro is shocked by the speed of the attack, knowing that without the dagger, she would not have evaded it. Ataru realizes that the beast is aware of his presence. The monster is closing the distance between Caro and him, making it difficult to use fire bullets. Caro spots a rock and tries to take cover behind it to catch her breath, but the wolf destroys the stone as if it were nothing, sending the beast woman flying. The rabbit girl crashes face first into the ground, and before she can recover, the beast is already pouncing on her. But a shot is fired and the wolf manages to deflect its trajectory with its claws. Ataru yells at the creature to get its filthy paws off his partner. Several consecutive shots hit the wolf. The normal bullets are only slowing the beast down, and the creature is adapting to the sniper attacks. To make matters worse, the shooter is struggling to adjust to the wolf's unpredictable movements. Additionally, it appears that the fire bullets, even when landing direct hits, are not causing significant damage. Ataru wants to say that, at the very least, he created other magical bullets, but perhaps that is not the case. Caro notices that the sun is setting, and once night falls, things will become even more difficult. Even if the Death Wolf flees now, it will return to attack the village and all those innocent people. Caro looks at her partner and realizes he is planning something. This gives her confidence as well. Ataru opens the menu to switch ammunition. Caro charges forward, asking her magical weapon to grant her more speed. With a leap, she drives the dagger into the wolf and slashes, dealing direct damage. Before Caro can move again, the beast blurs forward and swipes at her, sending the girl flying and making her lose her weapons. The monster roars in rage and prepares to attack again. But even cornered, the beast woman still has the will to fight. The wolf is in the crosshairs. Ataru says that Caro did very well, she gave him enough time to prepare, and now it's the end. The shot is fired, hitting the beast's neck. The bullet makes a hole and tears through the flesh, but the wolf does not fall. It remains ready to fight. Ataru is impressed that the beast is still standing even after such a shot. But there's more than just the bullet. The effect of the ammunition is activated, and the beast is electrocuted. Now the Death Wolf finally falls, defeated. Ataru asks, worried, if Caro is okay. His partner confirms that she's fine. Luckily, she fell on something soft and wasn't hurt much, which relieves our hero. Ataru comments that he was impressed with how much that creature endured before falling. It was definitely a high-level monster. Caro agrees, saying it was completely different from the other wolves. Either way, they managed to complete their first mission. Our hero was really satisfied with the fight, and for Caro, having the magic weapon she received as a gift made things much easier since she could move freely. Planning ahead definitely made all the difference, comments our protagonist. For some reason, the bunny girl's knee gives out, and before she falls to the ground, her partner catches her. Ataru asks if she's okay and says that maybe her knees got hurt. Caro, dying of embarrassment, insists that it's definitely not that. She just lost strength in her legs after so much effort. Our hero says he's counting on his partner, who, by the way, is still blushing. Now, Haru says they will return to the village and confirms that the mission is complete. The two adventurers are really excited about what the future holds for them. With the guild guidebook in hand, the protagonists are on a mission to collect 10 medicinal herbs. According to the book, there's some information about the environmental conditions where they should gather the items. Caro says she doesn't see anyone around. This is probably a hidden area. As the bunny walks through the field, something catches her attention. She grabs some herbs and compares them to the book. Happily, she shows Ataru that she found what they were looking for. Now it's time to start gathering the plants, says our hero. After eliminating the wolf pack, they report everything to the village chief. Pablo is in shock upon hearing that they faced the death wolf. The villagers are frightened by the news. It wasn't a boss in the end, but it was a very dangerous creature that had been threatening the village. Based on the reaction of the people and the chief, they definitely didn't know about the giant wolf. The chief sincerely apologizes for putting the adventurers in such great danger. However, the citizens don't think the chief is the only one to blame. They also take responsibility. Everyone in the village agrees to properly compensate the adventurers. They just ask for a little more patience. But Ataru explains that he never intended to charge extra for anything. He just wanted to keep everyone in the village safe. However, next time they have a problem, it would be better for the village chief to request help from the guild with all the correct details. After all, even though the protagonist understands the financial situation of the villagers, an accident could have happened. Pablo thanks him in tears for our hero's generosity. Ataru left the job of dismantling and extracting magic stones to the village. He was only responsible for obtaining proof for the guild that the mission was completed. Caro offers to assist the villagers. She knows that for now her skills are limited, so the bunny girl wants to learn other ways to help Ataru. Our hero is caught off guard by his partner's request. She's already thinking of ways to help him, not because she is his slave, but because she wants to be useful. Caro, delighted, shows her friend that she learned how to extract meat from the monster. With the book she received, she will be able to dismantle monsters on her own. Ataru is happy for his assistant but finds himself thinking that in this world, it seems like the food source comes from monsters. Another fact that shows our hero has reincarnated in another world. While gathering herbs, Caro asks the protagonist if leaving without saying goodbye to the village chief was the right thing to do. For our hero, since they needed to leave early, it would have been inconvenient to wake everyone up just to say goodbye. But Caro is surprised to see that her friend has already gathered far more herbs than she has. Ataru didn't even notice. He unconsciously started picking the right herbs. For our hero, it's easy because this is one of his abilities, thanks to his eye. Moreover, Ataru will keep his promise and share the reward with his bunny partner. Even she was doubting that this would happen. Our hero, with a smile on his face, says that of course, he will compensate her, and Caro is truly grateful for that. Our hero asks the happy bunny what she wants to do with the money. Even though she's his slave, he doesn't want her to be distant from him. Caro says she has something in mind, and Ataru asks her to speak, no matter how complicated it may be. With determination, Caro says that she wants to help Ataru-sama as an adventurer. Since she was a child, the bunny girl was saved by an adventurer. Ever since then, she's dreamed of becoming one too. Even though she knows she can't register in a guild because she is a slave, helping Ataru-sama actively makes her truly happy. Ataru is happy to hear these words since he still wants Caro to continue traveling with him as his companion. And obviously, Caro wants to stay by her friend's side. But Ataru wants to know her wish, and the bunny girl responds that she wants to visit her hometown at least one last time in her life. The land she calls home, the one she sees in her mind and dreams. It is said that Caro was born in Beast Folks country. Caro found herself alone in life and eventually forgot the faces of her parents. That's why she wants to visit her homeland. Ataru understands how important this request is to his partner, and he steps closer to speak to her eye to eye. Our hero swears that he will take Caro to Beast Folks country, no matter what happens, and his friend thanks him deeply, feeling happy. Now that they have gathered enough medicinal herbs, they decide to return to town and report the mission's results to the guild. At the guild, other adventurers are surprised to witness a peculiar scene. Ataru and Caro are carrying dozens of herbs, almost like a tree, and our hero wants to know if gathering so many plants is unusual. Caro responds that normally such a bountiful harvest would be impossible, and most people would use an expansion bag. Our hero is curious about this so-called bag, and his companion explains that it is a magical item where several objects can be stored without changing the bag's size. Ataru is quite interested in the idea of buying one of these bags. They seem very useful, but for now, it's time to report their mission results. At the reception once again is Boris, who recognizes that Ataru has returned from the mission. Our hero thanks Boris since, thanks to him and his help, the missions were successfully completed. The 10 packages of medicinal herbs have been collected, and the rest our protagonist will sell at the medical market. Additionally, a scroll is delivered with the village chief confirming that the wolves were defeated, along with claws and pieces of magic stones as proof. Boris asks an assistant to take these items for urgent evaluation. And with some nervousness, the receptionist tries to say something but gets a bit tangled up. Ataru asks if, since it seems like it will take a while, he can return the next day. But Boris asks the adventurers to follow him. The receptionist leads the adventurers to another room upstairs and knocks on the door, informing someone that he has brought the requested people. The door is open and an elf introduces herself as Fernilia, the guild master and head of the branch. The The master thanks Boris, pays him, and asks him to leave. Now that they are alone, the elf asks her guests to take a seat. Then the elf explains that as the guild master, she will clarify what comes next. Our protagonist introduces himself as Ataru and says that his companion's name is Caro. Fernilia apologizes for calling them without prior notice, but there is something she wants to discuss with the two of them. The elf places a stone on the table, and Caro recognizes it as the Death Wolf's magic stone. The bunny girl whispers that this is a bad sign. If they discover where the magic stone came from, they will also find out that the village lied in the mission request. Ataru wonders if he made some kind of mistake. The elf asks again where they found this magic stone. Our hero says that by chance, they found the body of a death wolf in the forest. It was just a coincidence. Fernilia understands that Ataru prefers to hide his true power rather than reveal the truth. For her, the boy in front of her is just trying to avoid any conflict with other guild members. The elf's guess is that Ataru has some kind of special power. Caro senses the tension, and when she looks at her companion, even he is sweating. Our hero doesn't know what to say. The elf has eyes that seem to see through his thoughts. Ataru is impressed by the confidence the woman in front of him exudes. He knows she is much older than she appears. Our hero is unsure of what exactly she wants, but he also doesn't want to create any misunderstandings. Ataru asks if he should change his tone with her since he is a guild member and she is the master, but for the elf, it's fine. For Fernilia, the man in front of her seems like someone who knows a lot, things like how to kill a death wolf. The two adventurers feel cornered with no options. Ataru decides to be honest and admits that lying is pointless. Our hero admits that he will tell the guild master everything, but first he has 3 conditions and the elf is all ears. Ataru says that first, she cannot penalize the villagers. Second, everything said in that room must remain secret. And third, the elf must buy the stone. The guild leader agrees to all the terms. Then our protagonist begins narrating everything that happened, from the village citizens to the death wolf they encountered. The guild master listens carefully, and when he finishes speaking, she makes no comments. Ataru summons his rifle in front of the elf. The shooter explains that this is his weapon, and that it is equivalent to a magic weapon, but he doesn't want to explain how the rifle actually works. For Fernilia, that doesn't matter. She knows that adventurers prefer to keep their arsenals a secret. The elf deduces that Caro is the support, but Ataru corrects her, saying no, the bunny is a close combat fighter. The protagonist summarizes the battle, saying that it was Caro who lured the beast out of the cave and that, thanks to her, he was able to land the fatal shot on the wolf. Basically, that's what happened, concludes our hero. The elf seems to process the information carefully and reaches the conclusion that Ataru is incredible. Fernilia found the conversation very interesting and the shooter's skills are impressive. She has high expectations for him in the guild. The master apologizes for taking up so much of the adventurers' time since they must be tired. Now, they're free to leave. Ataru asks if that's really all, and the elf says yes. She already knows everything she wanted to know. Just one more thing. If our protagonist wants, the elf can arrange for Caro to become a guild member. With her influence, that would be possible. The protagonist asks if it would really be that simple, and Fernilia tells him to think of it as an offer. The bunny girl happily thanks her for the opportunity, and the master only asks Ataru to continue supporting his companion. Our hero says goodbye, stating that he has already exposed himself enough in this conversation. One last thing. Ataru asks about the purchase of the magic stone, and with an innocent giggle, the elf says she will take care of everything. Caro thanks her before leaving and closes the door. Now alone, Fernilia says she finds this boy very interesting. After registering her details, the guild card is handed to Caro, who becomes emotional. Ataru celebrates the great news. His companion has just achieved her dream. The bunny girl cries. She feels like she is dreaming from so much happiness. Boris informs her that Caro still needs to take on missions alone to be properly rewarded. Additionally, the receptionist apologizes for taking up both of their time, considering they have just returned from a trip. But Ataru doesn't mind. He is very happy with the way the guild is treating him. Caro, of course, is even more thrilled, which pleases Boris. At that moment, someone calls for help. An injured adventurer is being assisted by his fellow comrades, but he is in a hurry to report the news to the guild. The man says there is a problem. A horde of monsters is surrounding the city. Boris makes his way through the crowd until he reaches the injured man and asks what is happening. Once again, the man warns that a group of monsters is heading toward the city. Wounded, the man begins to cough out of breath, and Boris asks someone to bring water. The man continues speaking loud enough for everyone to hear, saying that the forest north of the city is infested with monsters. The adventurers feel disappointed. They had expected something serious, but it seems like the man is making a fuss over just a few monsters. Desperate, the injured man says that he's not talking about just 10 or 20 monsters, but rather more than 100 creatures gathering in the forest. Boris is shocked by the possibility and asks how he can be sure. Then the adventurer explains that he has a skill called presence detector. While he was in the forest gathering items for a mission, he sensed the presence of hundreds of monsters. So he took his horse and rode until his mount could no longer run. A girl pulls the injured man's arm. It's Caro. She's offering him water. Ataru asks Boris if the situation is really that bad, and with great regret, he confirms that it is. Something similar has happened before. At that time, the monsters gathered, formed a horde, and attacked nearby villages and towns. This is a phenomenon called stampede. Ataru realizes that for Boris to be in a panic, this is a situation that requires swift action. Our hero wants to know what to do, and the receptionist says they need to come up with countermeasures and should start by reviewing the reports from the last incident. But then someone declares that they will take over the situation from here. It's the guild leader, Fernilia, has appeared. Other adventurers are impressed to see the leader making a public appearance. For some, this is the first time they've ever seen her. The elf tells everyone that if the information is true, the horde will attack the city. So she wants to recruit adventurers to help defeat these creatures. From now on, recruitment begins for the mission to fight the horde. Simply being a guild member is enough to participate, regardless of rank. 5 silver coins will be given to anyone who joins, and additional rewards will be granted based on performance in the mission. And from now on, the mission will be called Monster Extermination Campaign, and no other missions can be accepted while this one is active. An adventurer hesitates, unsure of what to do, but another is excited about earning 5 silver coins just for participating. Another female adventurer decides to pass on this one, as she doesn't have the confidence to fight a horde. Caro wants to accept the mission, which leaves Ataru with little choice, especially because Fernilia knows they are there, and that's exactly why she gave this speech. Our hero knows he doesn't have many options. Ataru wonders how the rewards will work, considering this mission is about eliminating as many monsters as possible. Boris explains that in this case, a special spell will be placed on the guild card upon accepting the mission. This way, it will be possible to count how many monsters its user has defeated, and upon returning to the guild, rewards will be distributed based on performance. Just like in a normal quest, the procedure will be explained in more detail upon accepting the mission. Ataru wonders if the city lord and the princess already know about the stampede. Our hero, who received a lot of help from them, doesn't want to let them down. Our hero confirms to Caro that they are accepting the Monster Extermination Campaign mission. Boris is relieved to hear that the two agree to participate. Now the mission details can be explained, but before that, someone calls their attention. 3 rough-looking adventurers want to have a chat. The one who seems to be the leader warns that all F-rank adventurers should quit now while they still have the chance. Ataru sighs, feeling too lazy to explain the obvious. Our hero remembers that the guild master said there would be no rank restrictions for this mission, so there's no problem with him participating in this event. The adventurers, who are hungry for conflict, snap and say this isn't about power or eligibility to participate. For them, the problem is that Ataru will slow everyone else down, and they don't like the idea of him joining the mission just to claim the basic reward. The leader makes it clear that he won't let something like that happen. Silence. Fernilia shouts, putting an end to the discussion. Explaining the obvious, the elf reminds everyone that the guild is in a state of emergency and strictly forbids any fighting between members. The leader of the small group of adventurers is forced to back down with the guild master's arrival. Fernilia continues, saying that, as she explained earlier, all forces are needed for this event. Rank doesn't matter, only the courage to risk one's life. Just for the long-haired one, she points out that low-ranking adventurers might collect the silver coins after enlisting and then hide in some hole. What Ataru points out is that nothing prevents those who are accusing others from doing the same. Outraged, the troublemaking members say they are being disrespected since they are honorable D-rank members. The guild leader seizes the opportunity and asks if the group's leader wants a competition between members. She proposes that whoever achieves the best results will take both the participation reward and the personal performance rewards. But the long-haired one backs out. He doesn't want to go that far just because of the protagonist. Then Fernilia adds one more condition. The loser will have to pay 12 gold coins out of their own pocket to the winner. The elf asks Ataru what he thinks. The shooter remembers that it was mentioned that the number of monsters defeated will be recorded on the card. With that in mind, he accepts. The white-haired one is scared, and one of the guild members notices it. An adventurer comments that it's rare for a mission with these conditions to appear, the kind that makes an adventurer's blood boil. He wants to know if the group leader is chickening out. Before the white-haired one realizes it, other guild members are already volunteering to replace him and join the bet. But the leader backtracks and says he never claimed he wouldn't accept the bet, which already frightens the other 2 members. The leader declares that they are in. There's no way they can lose to an F rank in the first place, which excites his companions. Some guild members start speculating on whom to bet on. One group says they will bet on the D ranks. Members who work for the guild gossip among themselves, saying there's a record that Ataru managed to defeat a deaf wolf. Fernilia apologizes to the shooter for dragging him into this situation without his permission. But morale has risen among the people, so a special reward is a small price to pay. For now, she will turn a blind eye to the betting. The leader asked Boris to bring the contract so that everyone can see the agreement. The 2 competitors sign their names, sealing the deal. Fernilia displays the contract for everyone to see, making them witnesses that both parties agree to the terms. Now, all that's left is to wait and see who the winner will be. The next announcement is that the scouts have already brought information that the monster horde is approaching the city. Everyone with combat skills will go to the front lines. Mages and long-range shooters will take positions on the city walls. This is the basic formation. The rest can fight alone or in groups. The city's future depends on everyone's effort. Let's defeat the horde with all the power we have. As soon as the guild leader finishes speaking, all the members cheer in excitement. From the top of the wall, Ataru, Caro, and Fernilia observe the horizon. The protagonist can see the guild groups taking their positions. Well-armed adventurer groups march to the meeting point, and the same happens with the mages crossing the forest. The elf asks if Ataru is fine being so far away and isolated from the others. The shooter explains that this is a suitable position for his weapon. Ataru asks for privacy to prepare for the battle, as there are still secrets he wants to keep from the elf. Disappointed, she agrees and says she will check on the other adventurers. If they need her, they just have to call. Now alone, Ataru begins explaining that he will stay in this position to defend the city. He assures that with his eye, he is capable of watching over any point from here. Now about Caro. But before he continues, the bunny girl, already aware, states that her role is on the front lines using her speed to defend the city. Ataru agrees. It seems they are already learning to fight as a team, which makes things easier. The protagonist hands Caro some spare knives in case she needs them. A few more pieces of advice before she heads out. Caro cannot rely too much on healing bullets. Once Ataru uses them, it takes time before they can be used again. So it's best for the bunny girl to avoid fights where she might get seriously injured. Now she will have to take care of herself. But there isn't much for her to worry about. Ataru will be watching over her, and he won't let a single monster touch a hair on her head. Extremely grateful, Caro promises that she will never forget his advice. In the forest, armored skeletons and giant rock monsters approach. Caro announces that the preparations are finished, so Ataru declares that it's time to start the show. In the distance, Fernilia listens to the sounds of battle echoing through the forest. The battle for the city has begun. Reptilian creatures, demons, and pay warriors advance in hordes. Meanwhile, giant rock monsters approach the city walls. Adventurers in full armor charge into battle. A warrior strikes a pig-faced creature, but his sword has no effect. A demon leaps and slams into another soldier's shield, while at the same time, a group is crushed by a giant. Terrified, the adventurers comment that there are too many monsters. They just won't stop coming. Caro, with her magic weapon in hand, leaps into the battlefield. She strikes one monster after another in perfect combo. Those who witness her feats are impressed by the beast woman's speed and recognize that she was with the rookie adventurer from the bet. Caro slices through all the monsters in her path with ease, and when two creatures jump at her from behind, they are struck by gunfire. As promised, Ataru from afar is watching over his partner. Another shot is fired, disintegrating a goblin's head. 3 more have their heads taken out before they can surround Caro. This makes the beast woman happy, knowing that her partner is by her side. The leader asks his group how many monsters they've defeated so far, and he answers about 14. One of the members wants to know what's going through the leader's mind. The beast woman is eliminating monsters too quickly, and other creatures around her are being wiped out, perhaps by some kind of magic. One of the members wants to know what to do. He doesn't want to lose the bet. The leader replies that they will take the beast woman out of the way. The members think this is going too far just for a bet, but the leader reminds them of the contract they signed. Losing the bet means losing all the money from the mission and also losing to someone of a lower rank, which could even demote them to F rank. And that's not all. The bet was made in front of the entire guild. If they lose, they will never be able to be adventurers in this city again. But one of the members wants to know what the leader means by taking her out of the way. Simple. They'll make her feel a little pain and then tie her to a tree. To be honest, there's no way to tell whether the hungry monsters will find her or not. That will depend on luck. Even his own companions feel nervous about what their leader is proposing. Caro keeps fighting with all she has, while the ill-intentioned group hides behind the wall waiting for an opportunity. As expected, the girl is too busy fighting monsters. Through his scope, Ataru watches the scheming group. Our protagonist is in the mood to teach them a lesson. The shooter wants them to suffer, so he fires. A rock explodes, startling the group. The adventurers are confused, unsure of where the attack came from. One of the members thinks they are being targeted. Trying to keep control of the situation, the leader says it was just a coincidence. He still wants to attack the girl. Now multiple shots make the group's weapons fly out of their hands. Ataru keeps firing, making their weapons bounce in the air for a while. Now it's certain. The adventurers realize that the rookie is the one attacking them. The leader tells them not to worry about it and orders them to grab the girl. But without noticing, reptilians have already surrounded the group, and all the leader and his partners have time to do is scream. Another monster falls, and Caro says that she might have heard something. The bunny girl knows she has already defeated several monsters and feels stronger than the last time she fought the death wolf. It seems that the more she fights, the more she evolves. This way, Caro can fight without getting hurt, just as Ataru asked. Besides, she knows he is watching over her from a distance, which gives her a sense of relief. There's also the magic knife, which was a gift and is extremely handy. Caro knows she can still fight and be useful to Ataru. Now that our protagonist has dealt with that bunch, he can refocus on the battle. but a voice comments that so this is our hero's weapon. Fernelia says it's the first time she has seen Ataru in action. She confirms that she knew he wasn't just any ordinary man. The shooter wonders how the elf can see him from such a long distance. The elf now understands how Caro is able to fight so freely. Fernelia states that she will have to report to the guild since Ataru has defeated more monsters than even an A-rank adventurer could. What leaves our hero wondering is whether the card will be able to count the monsters he has taken down even from this distance. The guildmaster laughs and says it's a shame that he doubts the guild's capabilities. The adventurer's card is a magic system that has been improved for hundreds of years until there were no more flaws. Ataru is happy to hear that, and the elf is pleased to know that he is satisfied. Something catches the attention of both adventurers, a distant noise. The sound comes from the forest to the west. Ataru identifies. Our hero thinks they should get back to work. He has a bad feeling about this noise. Fernelia asks if Ataru also sensed it, a sinister feeling of discord. It seems that the number of monsters is increasing instead of decreasing. Hundreds of wolves are running a pack toward the city. Ataru knows that if the monsters enter the city, it will be the end. He will provide cover for the other adventurers and, if possible, keep the front line open. Fernelia agrees and thanks Ataru for helping his fellow guild members. The guildmaster leaves to do her part, leaving our hero alone. Now it's time to see what's about to happen. Ataru resumes shooting, taking down dozens of creatures in quick succession. A mage launches a fireball at an axe-wielding boar, while another adventurer lands a blow on a monster with the help of a young lancer. The mage warns that her mana is running low and that they should retreat. The lancer agrees. The other adventurers are being defeated one by one. It's better to fall back now before things get worse. But the leader says that if they retreat now, the battlefront will collapse, that we can't shake the feeling that something is very wrong. No matter how many monsters they kill, the number of creatures never decreases. What the hell is happening in that forest? A black hole opens in the air and a clawed hand seems to claw its way out. A demon begins emerging from inside a portal. The situation is critical. Even experienced adventurers are struggling not to be overwhelmed, and they quickly realize that something is happening in the forest. The monster hordes are just another problem, while the mystery of what is happening in the forest continues to loom over the warriors. A giant creature attacks a group of adventurers as the leader orders them to retreat, while elsewhere, giant birds take down more warriors. There are many injured, and those who can help are calling for a medic. The mage urges her leader to make a decision quickly. They are already surrounded, and the other adventurers are falling. They need to do something. The leader doesn't know what decision to make. If they retreat, the front line will fall, and the monsters will take the city. At that moment, the creatures surrounding the group are instantly frozen and then shattered into tiny pieces. Other monsters are also frozen and destroyed. A voice echoes through the forest, telling everyone to stand firm and hold the front line. Fernelia, with the bow in hand, announces that she will be joining them. It's time to show what the guild is really made of. No one can believe it. The guild master herself is joining the battle. The elf is an S rank assigned to protect the city. She is a living legend. The lancer is thrilled. He believes that with the guild master on the front lines, they can win. But his leader disagrees. He says that the elf has been retired for a long time, so she's probably not at the peak of her strength. It seems that Fernelia overheard and says that's nonsense. She asks if the adventurers remember how she is known. The guildmaster fires an arrow into the sky, and midair, the arrow transforms, turning into hundreds of ice attacks that rain down on the creatures all at once. The monsters are frozen. A horde of creatures is struck by the icy arrows, and even a giant falls before the power of the guild leader. The adventurers are in shock. They know exactly how Fernelia is known, the Saint of the Bow and the Queen of Ice. Morale is instantly lifted, with the warriors going wild. The Lancer's leader has to admit Fernelia is still incredible. But the Saint of the Bow isn't finished yet. She warns everyone that she is about to unleash a massive amount of magic. The Queen of Ice recites some magic words and prepares to launch a grand spell. Monsters charge toward the elf to try to stop her, but it's already too late. A massive explosion of ice rises in a cone of light into the sky, freezing all monsters around. The name of the attack is Freeze the Planet, Arctic Purgatory. In an instant, all the creatures around turn into blocks of ice. The adventurers cheer. The stampede has been stopped, they shout. Fernelia remains focused on her magic. The guild leader thinks it's been a long time since she last used this magic, but this should buy them a few more hours. From atop the wall, Ataru observes that the monster horde's advance has stopped, all thanks to Fernelia's power. Still, he can't shake the feeling that something bad is about to happen. They need to reduce the number of monsters before anything else occurs. Shots are fired to help destroy the frozen creatures. Caro notices that Ataru is leading the front line. This is no time to lower her guard, not even for her. Caro does the same and starts destroying the frozen creatures. Even the bunny girl feels that something is off. A bad sensation runs through her body and deep into her bones. Ataru notices that his partner is heading toward a dangerous spot. Suddenly, from within the forest, a creature leaps on top of Caro. Unexpectedly, Fernelia's fingers begin to bleed. The elf senses demonic energy preventing her from concentrating on her magic. At that moment, a new creature enters the battlefield. The adventurers can't believe what they are seeing. A creature like that shouldn't be part of this battle. Some adventurers have their minds shattered, falling into despair and losing all will to fight. The guild master admits that this is a dire situation. Having a threat of this level appear now makes things significantly worse. The one who thrives in violence, the giant demon. Some adventurers warn that those weak to psychic attacks should fall back. That thing will take control of anyone who gets too close. Now it all makes sense to Fernelia. The powerful magic of the giant demon is drawing the creatures like moths to a flame. Caro keeps dodging the monster's attacks, but one of its bullets lands. The beast woman falls to the ground, and before she can recover, the creature jumps on top of her. But a gunshot blasts the monster apart before it can finish its attack. Ataru appears in the forest, worried if his partner is okay, leaving Caro very surprised. The bunny girl looks exhausted and at her limit. Ataru is relieved that she doesn't have any serious injuries, but she has definitely pushed herself too far. Maybe she only pushed herself so hard because of the magic weapon. She needs to be more careful with that item. Ataru tells Caro that he's been watching from the wall and that she did great. Now it's time for her to rest. But his partner is stubborn and insists that she can still continue. Our hero tells her to trust him. Her body has already surpassed its limits. Caro still tries to resist, but Ataru gives her a direct order to stop and rest. He would regret it if she got seriously hurt. Gently, our hero praises his partner for fighting bravely. The whole team is doing better because of her. Thank you for your hard work. From now on, Ataru will take over. Unable to hide her sadness and with tears in her eyes, Caro finally agrees. The shooter tells his partner not to worry. This will all be over soon. After this is done, they'll return to the inn and enjoy a delicious meal together. Caro likes the idea and eagerly looks forward to it. Our hero says his goodbye. The bunny girl wishes strongly for her friend to be careful. Ataru dashes through the forest at high speed. The feeling that something is wrong grows even stronger. It's an even worse sensation than when he faced the death wolf. Ataru opens his menu and navigates to the ammunition options. It looks like he will have to use even more powerful bullets. Fernelia orders everyone to retreat. She is still struggling to maintain her magic. But the giant demon is pushing through the ice barriers as if they were nothing. The elf knows she was naive. The barriers created by Arctic Purgatory were meant to stop ordinary creatures. Against a demon, there's nothing they can do. A warrior asks if he can help the guild master. The elf responds that for now, she is better off alone. The best thing they can do is gather all the wounded and retreat to the wall. If the front lines fall to the monsters, the horde will invade the city, and it will be up to the adventurers to evacuate the people. The Lancer tries to protest, but his leader understands what she means and agrees to retreat. His partner doesn't want to leave the guild master behind, but the leader says that with the adventurers in disarray, they'll only get in the way, so all of them will retreat. Fernelia is pleased that her group understands. The leader asks the elf to take care of things from here. The giant demon continues to approach slow and steady. The guild master knows there was no way to anticipate a demon emerging. This way, she knows the ice barriers won't last much longer. But there's no way Fernelia will let this demon pass so easily. Not in her name as the guild master. You will spend the rest of eternity in a glacial prison. The Queen of Ice channels all of her magic into the supercharged shot from her bow, striking the demon, freezing it, and piercing its body with massive ice shards. With her last breath, Fernelia hopes that this barrier will buy them more time and that her fellow adventurers will protect the city in her place. But before her body can hit the ground, Ataru appears at the last second, stopping her from falling. Fernelia is surprised and wants to know what the shooter is doing there. Ataru responds that he had a bad feeling about this area, and it looks like his premonition was correct. He has already sent Caro to retreat. Our hero has figured out that the demon is the one drawing the monster horde and still being held. Fernelia can't believe that she's being saved. Now that he's up close, the demon really does look tough to Ataru. It seems like the creature does a lot of weightlifting. Other than that, our hero asks if the elf is okay. Fernelia would like to say she's fine, but she can't deny the truth. It's been a long time since she's used so much magic and she's completely out of mana. The guild leader tells her companion not to worry about her and to join the other adventurers in defending the city. Ataru agrees that retreating and using the walls as shields might be the best strategy now, especially considering that half of the adventurers are in no condition to fight. Even though parts of the walls have been breached, there's nothing else they can do. But Ataru doubts that anything will change unless the demon falls. That's why they need to defeat the creature. Our hero asks if, should the guild master recover to 100%, she would be able to defeat the big guy. And of course the elf says she would. In that case, that's exactly what our hero is going to do. Ataru points his weapon at the guild master and tells her she has to trust him. Fernelia agrees he can do what he thinks is right. The shot hits right in the center of her heart, filling her body with light. The elf can feel her energy and mana returning, her body relaxing, and a newfound lightness washing over her. Fernelia is back fully recovered, leaving the guild master in disbelief as she wonders, who is this boy? The elf senses that her strength and magic have been restored. More than that, she feels even better than before the stampede began. It seems this is Ataru's secret power. Our hero sees that his friend is fully recovered, which is good. Now they can take on the giant demon. Ataru asks if there's a way to defeat the creature. The elf says there is, but there's a little trick to it. Demons have a demon core instead of a demon stone. All they have to do is break it. Ataru knows the problem is that they don't know where the core is, not to mention that it seems to be difficult to access. Fernelia agrees that this is the main issue since the core is likely deep within the demon's body. It's probably on the left side of its chest, but its extremely tough skin makes even regular damage difficult. Ataru asks how she knows where the demon's core is. Fernelia explains that when she was an adventurer, she and her companion encountered a giant demon. Fortunately, her leader had a legendary weapon that managed to open a wound deep enough to reach the core. It was a very tough battle, she recalls. Ataru knows there won't be any reinforcements, so they'll have to handle this on their own. This time it will be a battle of quality over quantity. Our hero wants to know if anyone from the guild is still capable of fighting, but Fernelia says that everyone has retreated to the walls. Ataru worries that even with his weapon, he might not be able to pierce the giant's skin with a shot. The warrior leader returns and it seems he was listening to their conversation. Now he wants to join the fight. Fernelia says that she had ordered this group to return to the city. The boy explains that the wall is already packed with people, so they don't meet any more there, and the mage was curious about why the elf stayed behind. The leader admits that he's not in his best condition, but he can still help in some way. The guildmaster disagrees. In their current state, the group won't be able to do anything against such a powerful enemy. The leader says that at the very least they can serve as bait, and in the worst case scenario, they can be left behind without a problem. Everyone in the group wants to help fight the demon. The elf agrees that if they were in their best condition, fully restored, their chances of defeating the monster would be much higher. But now they need to figure out a way to restore their energy, right, Ataru-sama? The adventurers get excited to learn that the shooter has a magic ability like this. Fernelia kindly asks Ataru if he can restore everyone. With no other options, he agrees on the condition that they keep it a secret. The warrior leader, an A rank, introduces himself as Basta. He doesn't know how it will work, but he swears to keep Ataru's secret. The lancer is Milo, who recently reached B rank. He might not look like it, but he's worthy of his level. The mage is Welina, also a B rank. She says she doesn't have many friends, so the secret is safe with her. Ataru tells everyone to turn around and selects his healing bullets. Each of the adventurers takes a recovery shot in the back. All three feel the same sensation, lightness and energy flowing through their bodies. The adventurers are amazed at how quickly they feel back to full strength. The ice barrier reaches its limit and the giant demon begins to move again. But now the 5 adventurers are ready to fight. Since they've heard about the core, Ataru asks if they can deal enough damage to break through the demon's skin. The leader says yes, though a bit nervously. Basta's sword isn't a legendary weapon, but he's going to prove what he's capable of as an A rank. Milo also trusts in his skills, as does Welina. Ataru is about to give instructions to Fernelia, but she already knows what to do. She doesn't know what he's planning, but she will keep the demon distracted. The shooter says that he and the elf will strike first. After that, the adventurers can jump in when an opening appears. First, the Queen of Ice attacks. She creates 3 ice arrows and strikes the demon's eyes and mouth. But she doesn't stop there. She keeps firing ice arrows at its face relentlessly. She even lands an ice explosion directly on the creature's face. Milo is amazed by Fernelia's power. Ataru is also impressed by the guild master's skills. Every one of her attacks was focused on a specific point. But now it's our hero's turn. Welina doesn't understand. A shooter shouldn't be attacking from such a short distance. Ataru pulls the trigger and fires one of his power bullets into the demon's leg. Then 3 more consecutive shots hit the creature. The demon feels the impact and even the adventurers are left speechless, seeing it stagger. Basta has never seen an attack like this in his life. Just the thought that an F rank is causing this much damage. The attacks keep landing successfully on the demon. Milo cheers, seeing both Fernelia and Ataru delivering incredible attacks. Basta can't believe the level of power in this fight. He hasn't even had the chance to do anything yet. Welina notices that all the damage the creature has taken is already regenerating. Ataru wonders where all this energy is coming from, probably from the demon core. The shooter warns that the only way to kill the demon is to destroy its core, so he and Fernelia will keep drawing the creature's attention. Besides that, Ataru advises the group that it's better to move rather than stand still like statues, especially since there's a massive rock headed their way. The heroes barely avoid the boulder, but it sends them flying backward. Even after taking all that magical damage from the elf, the creature is already fully healed. On top of that, Ataru needs to create an opening for Basta, but he's not sure if the power bullet will be enough. Our hero selects fire bullets from his display. With his new ammunition, Ataru fires and a burst of flames rushes toward the creature. Our hero lands the shot in the same place as before on the leg. But this time, the bullets incinerate the monster's flesh, making the creature scream in pain. A cloud of smoke rises, and when the monster sees an ice shard, it punches it, thinking it's one of the adventurers. Now come the lightning bullets. Ataru fires again, continuing to hit the same leg. Immediately after, the monster's entire body is electrocuted. If Ataru's goal was to get the demon's attention, he succeeded. Welina watches the battle, but her companions call her and move to the planned position. Now it's Fernilia's turn to re-enter the fight. Just the thought that a single adventurer was able to inflict this much damage on a giant demon proves that his power is truly extraordinary. The elf leaps into the attack, feeling a nostalgic sense of the days when she was an adventurer. Fernilia feels that they can win. Another magic arrow strikes the giant's head, followed quickly by another. The creature barely has time to look toward the attack before dozens of arrows fly toward it, striking its face once again. An ice explosion erupts against the demon's face. But as if nothing happened, the creature charges at the elf. From the top of a hill, the adventurers can see the situation worsening. Ataru aims at the creature's leg again and fires. The shot lands, stopping the monster's attack. The creature is finally starting to feel the shooter's assaults. Ataru has already noticed that the monster is resisting his special attacks quite well, but it's still incredible that it remains standing after so many hits. Another shot. This time, the creature's leg explodes, finally bringing the giant down. The adventurers cheer. Milo shouts that the demon is finally within their reach. It's Basta's time to act, but the warrior realizes it's not over yet. Once again, the giant demon rises, regenerating. Milo is on the verge of despair. The creature's healing ability is completely unfair. A magical ring appears around the monster before it can fully recover. Fernilia chants the magic words as she gathers energy for an attack called Frozen Prison Cage. Spikes of ice form around the giant, piercing its legs, arms, and entire body, trapping it once again in ice. The group goes wild at the guild master's display of power. The mage is impressed by the elf's perfect timing. Sealing the demon's movement at such close range was a bold move, Ataru thinks. But that's also expected from a legendary S-rank adventurer. Fernilia responds, saying that it was because she trusts our hero that she was able to make this move. Without him, it wouldn't have been possible. Ada returns to the adventurers and apologizes for making them wait. It's time for them to jump into the fight. Finally, the moment they've been waiting for has arrived. Basta calls out to Welina and Milo. It's time to show what they're capable of. The giant demon is currently immobilized. While it can't move, Basta and his companions can engage in close combat. The left side is where the demon's core is. That's the target. The creature, with its arm impaled by ice spears, rips its arm free, inflicting damage on itself to attack the group's leader. Milo, wielding his spear, jumps in front, telling them to let him handle this attack. With a flurry of spear strikes, Milo manages to finish destroying the giant's arm. But one of the enormous fingers lands a blow on the boy's face, knocking him out of the fight. Welina now takes the lead. She calls upon the spirits of thunder. Even though she considers herself weak, she humbly asks for their power. A bolt of lightning strikes the tip of her staff, and the small mage unleashes the attack Electric Impulse Thunderbolt. A massive lightning strike hits the center of the creature's chest. Welina notices that the demon's protective barrier has disappeared. It seems that electrical attacks are the monster's weakness. The warrior leaps in, praising his companions for their great work. Now he tells them to step back and leave the rest to him. Basta grips his sword with both hands. On the hilt of the weapon, two small blades activate and a dragon emblem glows along the sword's body. The blades begin to spin rapidly, charging up the attack. North Dragon's Sword Slash. Gladio's Meteor activated. Basta descends like a flash of lightning and drives his blade into the giant demon's chest. This chance was a gift from everyone at Basta. As an A rank, he will prove that it was worth it. A powerful explosion hurls the warrior away. His two companions rush to help him, and the leader, still alive, wants to know what happened. The sword is embedded in the creature's heart, piercing through its tough skin. Welina, almost speechless, can see that the blade managed to penetrate the barrier. The three adventurers celebrate their victory, believing they have defeated the demon. But Ataru realizes that no, it's not over yet. The giant demon shatters the ice barrier and starts moving again. Milo doesn't understand. The sword should have hit the core. So how is the creature still moving? The damage they inflicted hasn't regenerated, but the demon is doing something new. Welina notices that the situation has worsened. The giant is gathering all the demonic magic it can to unleash in a single devastating attack, destroying everything around it. Fernilia explains that if the creature manages to do that, not only will the Sea of Libra be destroyed, but the entire region will be contaminated and cursed. The whole area will become uninhabitable for hundreds of years and turn into an evil land where other demons will thrive. Ataru admits, this opponent is even stronger than he expected. Our hero takes aim at the exact point and begins firing. A perfect shot strikes the tip of the sword's hilt. The blade is driven deeper until it reaches the core and hits the stone. The bullet keeps pushing the hilt, forcing the sword to pierce all the way through the heart and out the other side. A perfect hole is formed in the demon's core. The giant demon begins to collapse from the inside out, its body slowly evaporating until it vanishes into the sky. The last one left standing is Ataru, holding his weapon. The battle is finally over. Everyone is speechless at our hero's abilities. Ataru offers Fernilia a hand to help her up and asks if it's okay to leave the leftover magical energy loose. The elf responds that everything will be fine since the demon was defeated before completing its spell. the energy will naturally return to nature. At that moment, a few warriors arrive, asking if the guild master is alright. Fernelia reassures them that she's fine and asks about the city. A soldier reports that only a few monsters breached the walls, but the situation is under control. Relieved that the city's people are safe, the guild master apologizes for putting the guild members at such risk, but now they can return and rest. Ataru extends a hand to Basta, who gladly accepts it. Our hero apologizes for breaking the warrior's sword, but Basta doesn't mind. He's just happy to have helped take down the giant. The leader asks his group if anyone is injured. Milo replies that he's just hungry, and Welina says she desperately needs a bath. Basta announces that he's heading back to the city and asks if Ataru wants to join them, but the hero declines, saying maybe next time. He still needs to go find his partner. And as if by magic, Caro appears behind Ataru. Our hero says she should have waited since she wasn't supposed to be pushing herself. Unable to hold back, Caro runs toward him, crying, and hugs her partner. Through her tears, the bunny girl sobs as she asks if Ataru is okay. Our hero reassures her that everything is fine. He apologizes for leaving her alone and making her worried. Ataru finally embraces his companion in return. Everyone shares in their happiness watching the two companions reunited. A soldier asks Fernelia who this adventurer is. His unique abilities are far beyond those of a mere F rank or even a rookie. The guildmaster simply responds that for now, all she can say is that Ataru is just a simple adventurer. The Monster Stampede mission is complete. A few days after the stampede in Libera at the guild base, the adventurers are in an uproar over the results. In 10th place with 43 kills, Caro F rank promoted to D rank. People are astonished that the Beast Woman not only achieved excellent results in such a short time, but also got promoted so quickly. Two other female adventurers congratulate Caro and invite her to join their party. Welina and Milo also congratulate the bunny girl. This is exactly what they expected from Ataru's companion. The mage ranked 29th with 21 enemies defeated, and Milo placed 17th with 33 points. Caro thanks everyone but admits that without Ataru's help, she wouldn't have made it. According to her, the result wasn't entirely due to her own skills. Milo notices that Bassa is staring at the ranking board and decides to check the warrior's placement. The Lancer sees that his leader placed second with 120 points and guesses that Bassa is so shocked by the result that he's frozen in place. The warrior denies it, saying it has nothing to do with that. At that moment, Milo hears others reacting in shock, even disbelief at what they are seeing. In first place, with 302 enemies defeated, is Ataru F rank promoted to B rank. Caro runs to congratulate her partner. He was incredible as always. Ataru thanks her and tells her that she did great as well. Their teamwork is better than ever. Ataru comments that both of them have ranked up. They are definitely going to receive a high reward. Caro is overjoyed. She can't wait to collect the prize, all thanks to her partner. Fernelia gathers everyone's attention for a speech. As they can see, Ataru placed first with the highest personal result in the guild, earning the highest score among all participants. On behalf of Fernelia, the guild master, she declares the winner. But before the elf can finish her sentence, someone interrupts. Ataru himself asks for a moment. Now, all eyes are on him. The shooter recalls the bet he made and asks if it's possible to cancel it. The guildmaster asks for an explanation. Why does he want to end the bet? Ataru admits that he only agreed to the bet in the heat of the moment. What he truly wants is not to be bothered about it anymore. For our hero, everyone now knows what he is capable of, and the most important thing is that the city was defended. Fernelia, wanting to confirm, asks if he is sure about this decision. As the winner, he has the right to either receive the money or refuse it. Ataru says it's fine. Besides, the guild itself needs the money more than he does right now. Fernelia asked Boris to bring the contract. With the document in hand, Ataru tears it into pieces and tosses the scraps into the air. Boris announces that they will begin the mission payments. Everyone should line up in order of ranking. Ataru tells Caro that they should line up as well, but before they can, Fernelia calls for them. The elf wants to talk to both of them about something important in her office. She asks them to follow her. In the guildmaster's office, with tea in hand, the elf wants to discuss the mission's rewards. First, Caro will be paid normally, just like the others, with no problem. The real issue is Ataru, actually his reward. Ataru asks if he overdid it. The elf agrees that he went a bit overboard, but that's not the issue. Our hero is curious about what's wrong. Fernelia explains that the giant demon was the most powerful enemy, and the one responsible for defeating it was Ataru. Ataru disagrees. He says it was a team effort, with a result achieved through the efforts of many people. Fernelia agrees that the other three will also be rewarded for their contributions, as they were a great help. However, without Ataru, the battle would have been lost, and everyone agrees that he deserves the highest reward. There was no prior warning about the monster horde that attacked the city. According to past records, this was also the fastest stampede in history. The number of monsters far exceeded all predictions. Normally, when such a massive number of creatures gather for an attack, multiple guilds unite to assist in the battle. Ataru understands the situation, but he still believes he doesn't need an extra reward. Fernelia cannot accept that. Her pride won't allow it, which is why she was considering offering him a different kind of reward. The guild leader presents the best reward she can offer. The elf places 2 bags on the table. Ataru doesn't understand the significance of this gift, but Caro immediately recognizes the symbol on the front. They are magic bags with infinite storage. In particular, these 2 are originals, meaning their quality is the best available. Caro reminds her partner that she had already told him about these magic bags, which can carry more than they appear to. The bunny girl explains that one of these bags costs as much as a large horse, and original ones are nearly impossible to find. For Fernilia, since it's impossible for her to properly reward Ataru for defeating the giant demon, this is the best way she could compensate him. Our hero understands that, considering his future in this organization, he cannot refuse this offer. But Ataru wants to know why Fernilia's face is so red. Maybe she has a fever. Embarrassed, the elf insists that it's nothing. She was just remembering how she obtained these bags. In a dungeon, someone descends the stairs and enters a room. Fernilia, younger, reaches the deepest part of the dungeon and arrives at the treasure room. The elf thinks this dungeon is too quiet, which is why people consider it impenetrable. If young Fernilia manages to complete this mission, she will rise to S rank. The Ice Queen casts a spell that creates a globe of light, revealing a chest in the center of the room. The legendary magic pouch left behind by the famous mage Lori Nadas, the adventurer has finally found it. Fernilia's friends warned her that it was too dangerous, so she went on this mission alone because she really wanted that item. When the Ice Queen is ready to move forward, she steps on a trap, and a chain wraps around her foot, leaving her hanging upside down. Young Fernilia feels embarrassed for falling into such a simple trap. She should have guessed that this dungeon was designed to entertain itself at the expense of other adventurers. The elf simply decides to freeze and break the chain. At that moment, the dungeon's entrance door opens. A beastman is angry with Fernilia for always doing things without informing her companions. The leader is the only one who can stop her from continuing the search. The elf does not like at all that her friends came after her. If they see her in this embarrassing state, they will tease her forever. First, the Ice Queen creates a giant ice cube and places it at the entrance to block them and buy some time. But at the same moment, the ice barrier is shattered into 1,000 pieces, almost scaring Fernilia to death, and the destruction was caused by a punch from a little girl. The beastman is worried that his elf friend must be in trouble, and the leader rushes in to help his companion. That's when everyone sees the embarrassing sight of the elf hanging upside down in a vulnerable position. Fernilia, in the present, simply says that she got the pouch because of the recklessness of her youth and leaves it at that. Back in the present, the elf announces that she is giving more than just the pouches. Inside the pouch, besides its expanded interior, there are 2 rare items for each of them, called Time Stop. Caro knows what this magic does, but Ataru doesn't, though he admits it sounds pretty convenient. Fernilia finds it strange that the shooter doesn't seem surprised. From the bunny girl's reaction, our hero has already assumed that it must be a very valuable item. Caro explains that it is an ability that freezes time for anything inside the pouch. For example, if they carry flowers, they will never wither while inside. But Ataru sees no use in carrying flowers. It can also be used to store fragile potions, which also doesn't interest our hero. But then Caro says they can store food inside, keeping it fresh and warm, and that catches Ataru's attention. The bunny girl explains that they can eat any meal anywhere as if it had just been prepared. Now Ataru finds this ability very convenient, and his friend agrees, all excited. Fernilia is happy that the hero understands the usefulness of the pouch. Ataru and Caro say their goodbyes and leave with their new items on their backs. Fernilia remembers that she was only able to give these gifts because of her dark past. Caro asks what they will do now. First, Ataru wants to stop by a few different places, starting with Bob to collect the money reward and buy more items. Caro gets excited because they will stock up before the next adventure. Our hero doesn't know how much he received, but he imagines how much money they would have earned if they had also reported the giant demon. But then someone calls Ataru a rookie and tells him to wait a minute. It's the 3 rough-looking adventurers from before. The leader says Ataru must be surprised since they were surrounded by monsters, and everyone probably thought they were eaten alive. But here they are back from the depths of hell. Except Ataru has no idea who this bunch is and asks who they are. Caro remembers that these strange guys are the D-rank adventurers with whom our hero made a bet before the battle. Ataru remembers now, but wonders if this group always looked like this. The leader almost loses his temper at the boy's audacity, but holds himself back. Even he came to thank our hero. The white-haired one heard that Ataru canceled the bet. If he hadn't done that, this small group of adventurers would have suffered a huge loss. Ataru says it wasn't personal. He only accepted the bet because he couldn't refuse in front of everyone. His priority was to defend the city, and the bet helped boost the guild's morale, which was low. Luckily, the monster horde was defeated, and all the adventurers had to give their best effort. Because of that, Ataru concluded that if he canceled the bet, everyone who participated in the fight would end up with even fuller pockets. That includes the 3 clumsy adventurers. Whether they liked it or not, they also helped defeat the creatures. And it seems the group has already learned their lesson. The leader agrees and promises never to cheat again. One of the adventurers says he didn't want to admit it, but the stampede was their first big mission, so it was something very important for their group. One of the members also admits that they have a huge debt, which embarrasses one of his companions for sharing that information. The leader never imagined that Ataru would be someone of such a high level. Even he can accept that his two companions deserve their promotions to B and D ranks. Ataru says it was just convenient, but even the leader can recognize when someone is being modest. And at that moment, someone throws a barrel straight into the leader's face. The adventurers have no idea where the barrel came from until they notice a group of merchants coming after them, demanding to be paid one way or another. The leader says they have to go now, but who knows, maybe one day he will run into Ataru again. The three adventurers flee with the merchants chasing after them, desperate to get their money. Ataru thinks that the way things are going, those three clumsy guys won't be able to keep their rewards. Now our protagonist thinks it's time to head to Bob and pick up where they left off. The equipment and weapons vendor is extremely pleased with Ataru's arrival. He heard about the stampede. Nothing escapes Bob's ears. The merchant knows that the heroes must be loaded with money from their last mission's reward, and he knows they came to equip themselves for the next one. Ataru is looking for a light sword for Caro. He senses a different aura coming from a specific weapon. Bob, as always, says that our hero has a special eye. That sword was made by a famous blacksmith. Because of that, it has an enhanced blade, and the merchant cannot sell it to someone who cannot see its aura. Caro feels a certain nostalgia toward another light sword. That weapon was sold to Bob by a traveler who was also a beastman. It's not a magic blade, but it's made of great material and should suit the bunny girl well. Besides that, Ataru wants to buy a new stock of knives to replace his last ones. Our hero takes the opportunity to ask his companion if the stampede event is something that happens regularly. Caro says no, it's very rare, especially in this case where a demon also attacked the city. This was not a normal event. Something of this scale only happens once every few hundred years, especially in a big city like this. Ataru becomes curious about the last time something like this happened. Caro isn't sure. The records and history of these events are well guarded. What is known is that demons come from the demon world. The demon world is where the demon race lives, but no one knows where it is or how to get there. So people started believing it to be a place of misfortune. Ataru understands that it must be in another dimension. He doesn't even want to imagine the disaster it would be if more of those creatures appeared out of nowhere. Our hero notices that something is bothering his partner. Caro says she was just thinking that if it weren't for Ataru and other A-rank adventurers, the consequences would have been much worse. The bunny girl wishes she could be stronger. If she had more magic weapons or was more resilient, she could have helped in the final fight. But even in that crucial moment, she could be very useful. She just wishes she could do more for Ataru. Our hero gently pats his friend to calm her down and says there's no reason for her to blame herself. Ataru reminds her that they made a promise to each other. Caro remembers that it was the promise that she wouldn't get too hurt, and he kept his promise to return safely. Our hero says there is no reason for regrets. What matters is that the two of them keep their word and continue their journey. The fact that they are both safe is more than enough. Ataru asks if Caro agrees, and she couldn't agree more. Most of the things they both want aren't possible right now, but it's not a race. What matters is that they both grow one step at a time. Caro wants to know if this is a promise too, and her companion confirms that it is. Ataru believes in his friend 100%, leaving Caro completely flustered with happiness. The shooter informs Bob that he will take both swords and 3 knives. In front of a large gate, Caro asks if this is the place Ataru wanted to stop by. Our hero asks if she knows where they are. Caro responds that she has an idea. But before they can continue talking, the guards recognize Ataru and quickly send someone to call the Lord. Our hero asks the guard if it is possible to visit Lord Gran at the moment, but if not, that's fine. The guard explains that he has received orders that whenever Ataru comes to the mansion, he has permission to enter. Ataru is instructed to wait for an escort, but the hero declines. He wants to take a walk through the garden along the way. The guard agrees and tells the adventurer not to wander too far. Caro finds the garden huge and very well maintained. She asks if Ataru visits the mansion often. The hero says that this is his second time. The first was before he met the bunny girl. Ataru reaches the entrance and announces that the homeowners are coming. The city lord and the butler welcome Ataru at the entrance, happy to see their savior again, greeting him warmly. The lord mentions that he heard the hero became an adventurer. Caro wonders who he is, and Ataru introduces her to Grain, the city lord. A girl's voice calls for her father, scolding him for not waiting, since she was just as excited as they were. The lord says his daughter didn't need to appear in such a way, but the butler apologizes on her behalf. He knows the girl had been waiting for this moment. Princess Asha runs to Ataru, excited, saying that she has been waiting for him, while Caro seems bothered by the girl's presence. The lord says he heard about the stampede, which must have been a fierce battle, judging by the number of adventurers who gathered to stop the invasion. Grain explains that he always had faith in Ataru to defend the city and that everyone was worried about him. The lord is relieved that his concerns were unfounded and that the young adventurer is well. Ataru thanks him and says that the gold he received from Grain helped him prepare. Gills assumes the adventurer came to the mansion to receive a reward. In that case, the lord orders the butler to prepare a bag 5 times bigger than the last one. Our hero declines. He explains that he has already been well rewarded by the guild. Ashana calls Ataru and thanks him for protecting the city. She is extremely happy to see her savior again. The adventurer says he is happy to see her too and apologizes for taking so long to visit. The princess says she was afraid that her hero had forgotten about her. Now, Ashana asks who the girl with Ataru is. That's when our hero introduces Caro, his traveling companion. Ataru explains that Ashana was responsible for helping him when he arrived in the city. If it weren't for the lord and the princess, our hero wouldn't have met the bunny girl. The beast woman bows and introduces herself as Caro, Ataru's servant. She apologizes for not knowing how to give a proper greeting and for seeming rude. Our hero wonders if, when she speaks like that, it makes him sound like the truly rude one in the story. The one who bursts into laughter is the Lord, who says that the hero is respectful enough. Grain introduces himself respectfully to Caro and says it is a pleasure to meet her. The Lord explains that Ataru saved his daughter's life, and since Caro is his companion, she is also a highly valued guest to him. Then Grain introduces his only daughter, Ashana, and his butler, Gills. Gills realizes that the conversation will be a long one and suggests that the guests come inside. The Lord orders his daughter to show the way. Caro notices that the princess is staring at her. The girl's father asks if something is wrong, but Ashana says everything is fine. Ataru asks his companion if they should accept the invitation to enter, and Caro agrees. Now in the guest room, Grain admits that he had been hoping the rumors about the demon were false, but apparently that is not the case. But more importantly, they want to know if it is true that Ataru defeated the giant demon alone. Immediately, our hero denies it. Without the help of the guild master and other A-rank adventurers, he wouldn't have managed. The Lord, however, is still impressed. To think that the adventurer who saved his daughter also helped defeat a demon. Gills also points out that Ataru rose to B rank extremely quickly. They are also impressed that Caro was promoted. In fact, it's surprising that she even managed to join the guild given her status. The Lord says that if he were 30 years younger, he would be completely jealous of Ataru's achievements, since he and Gills were also adventurers in their youth. The princess is surprised just imagining that her father was once an adventurer. Grain simply says that they were D rank and gave up quickly after their first accident. The most impressive thing is that the guild master has so much faith in Ataru. She must have great expectations for him. Now that the hero has leveled up, he will not only be able to take on more difficult missions, but also enjoy many more benefits. And that's not the whole point. Having a high rank is a symbol of honor and status, which will open doors that were previously closed. It's a symbol that shows a person has gradually gained power in making connections with nobles. However, for Ataru, this is also a problem, as the adventurer could end up stuck doing only favor missions for nobles. In that case, it would be better to decline those missions. At that moment, Caro wonders if refusing a mission comes with any kind of penalty. Fernilia never got into those details. The Lord likes seeing this rebellious spirit in Ataru. That's how an adventurer should act. Regarding the missions, is every adventurer's right to accept or decline them without penalties. The guild was originally a corporate organization between nations. Over time, the relationship between the two sides began to cause problems. One man took it upon himself to turn the guild into something independent, directly confronting the nations. When this man achieved independence, he became known as the Great Guild Master. And from that day on, the guild became a force that nations could not oppose. Because of this, an adventurer is a symbol of unwavering strength. The butler explains that this is a legend every child knows. The Lord says that the guild is, above all, a symbol of freedom. Ataru agrees that Fernilia strongly upholds this idea. The princess notices that Caro's hair has some tangled parts. She asks Ataru if it's okay for her to help fix the bunny girl's hair in her room. The hero thinks it's a great idea, and Ashana takes Caro away from the conversation. Gills knows there are things only women can talk about, and the Lord hopes the two will become good friends. Ataru takes the opportunity to discuss something about adventurers with the Lord. The princess brushes Caro's hair and asks if she is nervous. The beast woman tries to hide it but fails and admits that she is, a little. Ashana compliments her, saying that her hair is so beautiful, like running one's hand through crystal clear water. Caro is still flustered but thanks her for the compliment. Suddenly, the princess' hands move as if to grab the bunny girl, but in the end, she just hugs Caro. A hug that leaves Caro completely frozen and red with embarrassment. A basketball rolls to the princess' feet. Some children ask Ashana if she wants to play with them, and the girl accepts. But a maid ends up stopping her. She explains that as the Lord's daughter, the princess must behave properly in front of others. The princess looks sad for just a second before putting a smile back on her face, saying she understands her role. The maid says it's time to go home. It's time for her piano lessons. Ashana, from the carriage window, watches the other children happily playing and hugging each other. The princess is still hugging Caro, who still doesn't know what to do. When Ashana realizes what she's doing, she jumps back completely red. The princess apologizes. She herself can't believe what she just did, and Caro, still somewhat unresponsive, also apologizes for some reason. Ashana keeps apologizing until, suddenly, she starts coughing and Caro becomes extremely worried, thinking the princess is sick. Still flustered, Ashana apologizes again and says she's fine. She just ran out of breath. Even the princess admits that she had no awareness of her own feelings. The princess confesses that ever since she first saw Caro, she had the urge to jump and hug her. Since Ashana first laid eyes on Caro, she knew the bunny girl was different from other adventurers, beautiful and fearless. When she smiled at the princess, Ashana could only think about wanting to be her friend. Even now, Caro is so kind and beautiful. I want to be your friend is all Ashana can think. The princess explains that she has never had friends, so she doesn't really understand boundaries when it comes to closeness. Embarrassed, Ashana apologizes again. Caro never imagined that the Lord's daughter would have such feelings for someone like her. She is very happy about it. The bunny girl understands and accepts her feelings, so in that case, she offers to be hugged. Still embarrassed, the princess doesn't want to bother her guest anymore, but Caro doesn't mind. She is telling the truth. Again, she asks to be hugged. Still hesitant, Ashana finally gets her hug. The princess admits that Caro is nothing like the adventurers she imagined, small, soft, kind, and truly beautiful. Caro thanks her for the kind words. The bunny girl finds the princess so warm. She doesn't know why, but she feels at peace in this moment. Caro has a strange and nostalgic feeling, a memory from the past. The voice speaks of her beloved daughter, her greatest treasure. The voice wishes for Caro's happiness and the best in life when she was just a child. Without realizing it, the bunny girl is in tears and she can't or doesn't care to stop crying at that moment. The princess, moved, also gives in to her own tears. The two remain embraced for a while alone. The princess and Caro go to Ataru and ask together if they can stay for another night. Our hero sees no problem with that and asks the house owner for permission. To the Lord, his guests can stay as long as they want. The two new friends celebrate, extremely happy. At night, the princess and Caro sleep together, hugging each other, while Ataru sleeps peacefully in his separate room.